Welcome to When We Talk Podcast, a place where we talk about everything from life, marriage, being single, conflict in marriage, conflict in relationships. We even talk about faith. This episode is hosted by Kenneth Bonner, Reggie Smith, and Jacqueline Wells.
Well, today we're going to go into to discuss a most interesting series of events. One that was very intriguing, and then another one that was just flat out, in our terms, just goofy. You know, some podcasts have their donkey of the day. We have our clown of the day. And our clown of the day, we'll be discussing Derrick, Jaxn, and situation that happened between him and his wife. Now, this guy is a supposed relational therapist. He gives critiques and different things on advice. And he's had a lot of followers, even myself. I was one who would follow him. And, you know, I wasn't avid, but there were some things that I liked, some things that he said. But we'll come to find out that sometimes it's not always quick to judge and also be a hypocrite when it comes to other people's lives and affairs, because some things tend to turn around and come back and bite you in the butt as well. So today we'll be discussing not just Derrick Jaxn, but also a situation that happened with Kirk Franklin. Kirk Franklin is not our clown of the day. He will be one of our topics, but Derrick Jaxn will be our clown of the day. Guys?
All right, so I guess I can start this. I'm not a follower of him. I don't listen to him, but when I heard that there was something going on about it, I had to tune in to try to figure out what happened. And when I researched it, you know, he's supposed to be this relationship guru who likes to call men out for their affairs or their adultery or those types of things. He called out John Gray. He called out it was a couple other folks. I can't remember the name, but in calling them out, he was hiding his own situation. And so, you know, my feelings about this is I'm not going to speak on his marriage, because that's between he and his wife. You know, if she chooses to stay with that man, that's her choice. But I just want to talk about the hypocritical behavior. You know, you have to be very careful when you're in any form of leadership or you have a following of people, because people are watching what you do. Now, you can go around preaching about black men don't cheat or men don't cheat or whatever the case, like he has the shirt that says that. But if you're not living up to your words, then you're a hypocrite. If your actions do not follow your words, you're a hypocrite. So this man sat up here and basically belittled men and talk about you ain't a real man if you do this, that, or the other, but then comes out with this video confessing his infidelity. Okay, I get that. You want to confess it and you want to have your wife on there confessing it and you want to apologize and, you know, and then I'm okay with that. You know, I didn't sense he was genuine. I figured it was a publicity stunt just to say that, hey, I want to put it out there and try to get ahead of it quickly. However, a week ago, from what I heard, a week before this video was out, he was still having a relationship with a woman. So that makes everything he said on that show, on that live video, a lie. You know, he met this woman back, allegedly, he met this woman back in November of 2020, and she ended up pregnant and ended up getting an abortion, and he ended up giving them a gag order so she couldn't say anything about it. So to me, that says a lot. This problem makes people not want to trust men. They make people not want to follow people. And then he turns around and says, he want to blame God. He got his life right with God, and he don't know why. Everybody that, you know, falls and makes mistakes, you want to bring God into the matter when he should have been there from the beginning. But now all of a sudden you want the sympathy from folks, and then you have the nerve to go do this video critiquing the video or a reaction video, and it just rubbed me the wrong way, because I feel like it's not genuine. You know, if you are truly genuine and trying to fix your marriage and trying to, you know, apologize to people, go ahead and do that. But then go back in private and restore your relationship with your wife. Don't be out here trying to do reaction videos because you saw the comments, and then at the end of it, you want to advertise your book. You know, that's not genuine. I think it was just a publicity stunt to sell more copies of it.
Yeah, I agree, Ken. I don't really follow Derrick Jaxn. I've seen snippets and clippets from some of the videos that he did put out there. But I would, from my standpoint on just watching, I think it was only like a 10-minute video. And I do agree. I think that, when you are a public figure, especially with social media, and you have yourself on this platform, because from my understanding, he has impacted many, many lives in the hundreds of thousands, which is, and just my opinion on why he felt the need to come out and address the issue at hand. And to an extent, so like you said, Ken, I think he's trying to get in front of it, because now it has blown up to the point to whereas I think it can be literally damaging to his, to his image and to his career. But furthermore, to agree with what you're saying, I think that, if you really want to get in front of something, that's one thing. But to come out full frontal, he was. If you look at the interview, his energy level was, he was really, really set in stone of getting out what he did, you know what I'm saying? And then, after he gave his whole spiel, then he turned to his wife, hey, you got something to say or whatever. But I think that, sometimes some things are not worth putting out in public view. Now, I do think that he had a responsibility, only to the fact that he has built this platform on, all these things about relationships that, women should leave and what women should do, and, dogging men out to a certain extent based off of their behaviors. However, I do feel like at some point, you really need to just kind of pull yourself back, reanalyze your whole entire situation, and make sure that your home front is where it needs to be. Now, granted, they both have spoken and said that they went through counseling, and they got to that point, because I believe this isn't a current situation. This happened like he said, months ago, almost a year ago. And right now, they are just now addressing it, because I don't know if it got leaked by somebody or if people started talking, whatever the case may be. But I just feel like at some point, you address the situation, but then you need to pull back, remove yourself from the scene for a little bit, and allow yourself to really get the help that you need to make sure that your marriage is where it needs to be. Now, I do want to touch on the situation with his wife, and just watching her demeanor and just watching how she was. I'm just going to say that she was really attacked just, by her appearance in the video, her overall demeanor in the video. She was a victim in my stance, just by how she looked. And I don't feel like, that people are cruel, people are not kind, people are going to always have something to say. She didn't feel the need to be all glammed up and to be all razzled up in this video. She stood next to her husband in support of her husband to just come out and say that, no, I don't agree with anything that he did. I don't stand by it. I chose at the time that it was happening to leave and to walk away. And at that time, we wasn't, we made the decision to separate or whatever it was. And I didn't come back until I felt like he was in the right place. There was a shift in his mentality, and that, and he got restored or whatever the case may be. She took her stand to just say where she was at in that particular situation. And to me, I feel like you really don't need to go into depth on what happened in your marriage. Like, to me, it's only you're only doing that to add more fuel to the fire, especially when you're getting opinions from the public and from social media. That's the one thing right there. You already know they were going to criticize and begin to start speaking ills of your marriage. So I don't feel like all of that needed to happen, in my opinion, because to Ken's point, I think that that's something that needs to stay private between you, yourself, God, and whatever marriage counselor you guys are utilizing to work through whatever those issues are. You have no point to prove to the public. Regardless, I don't care if he's on a platform. I don't care what he has going on. At that point, in my opinion, you have nothing to prove to nobody else. If you're truly trying to work on your marriage, forget about what everybody else is saying. You don't have to speak on anything that you've done or anything that you guys are doing to try to move past whatever the situation is. So I just, this whole situation to me, it saddens. It is a sad situation, especially when you have so many marriage couples and even singles that can look at his situation by him being a person of his influence and see it all come crumbling down based on infidelities that he's had in his relationship, and he's speaking against other people who do it.
Bring in the clowns.
Oh Lord.
Joke. To me, it's an all-out joke. He's a clown for this whole situation. I am one of the ones who was, and I'm not gonna say a follower, but me, I listen to him because he not only just degrades and gives his critique on men in their situation, he also does his due diligence as far as the women are concerned. So I've been on his page and his stream or whatever several times because, of course, me being devil's advocate, either agreeing or disagreeing or, different things like that. But I think that when the situation came out, I wasn't surprised. And here's the reason why I'm not surprised. I got to the point nowadays in my life to where I don't put nothing past anyone. Okay. One, because we're human, we're flawed, we make mistakes, bad mistakes, critical mistakes, lifelong mistakes. So when he did it, before I even got the whole understanding of what happened, I was like, wow. I'm like, dang, that's messed up. But here's the thing too. First of all, I never knew he was married. Never knew he was married. All this time he's been out, he's never said anything about his wife. You've never seen a wedding band on his finger, and he always sat in the car. And I was like, wow, I never paid attention to that. But he's never done any of that. But let me go to this. I have a real problem nowadays because social media has become the stage. It has become the stage where you can elaborate and hype up your life, even if it's jacked up, or it's a place where you can go and get sympathy and empathy and everything. It's a place where you can go and be something that you're not. Or you can be who you want to be. And I have a problem with society today because that's what it's become. But I also have a bigger problem because we come from the old school train of mind and the thought that whatever happens in the house stays in the house. And my biggest thing is like, when did this stop happening? You know what I'm saying? Because we were, all of us know that if something happened in that house, it didn't matter what it was. If you went outside that house and told it to anybody before the parents got ahead of it or they decided to, you got your whole spine split in half. You understand what I'm saying? There was no questions asked. Our families, I don't know about y'all, but I do know our families back in the day, they kept secrets. You know what I'm saying? There were some things that we didn't find out that happened in families until we was in our late 20s and our 30s. There's something I just found out about something in my family, and I'm 48 years old. I'm like, wow, families did a good job of gathering around and corralling and making sure information didn't get out because they really cared about what the family thought. They cared about the family dynamic. They cared about the family name. And even if there was infidelity going on, incest going on, someone beat up someone, spousal abuse or whatever, they kept it in the family. You understand what I'm saying? My thing is that everything does not have to be broadcasted. Everything does not have to be put out there for everyone to see. Some things need to stay between you and God, or some things need to stay between you, your wife, and God. And then some things need to be taken directly to your grave, never to be dug up ever again. So I also had an issue because, just like Ken said, that when I'm really looking at it, to me, it looks like he did this for a publicity stunt, because I have seen several different excerpts of some of the things that he was saying, because he was on it with another guy that I follow. And the only thing he kept saying was, well, if you want the full story, go to chapter such and such in my book. Or if you really want to get an understanding, just go check it out in the book. I'm like, okay, so you put your whole marriage on Front Street and open up the floodgates for your marriage to be critiqued, to be tore down, because you're trying to sell a book. I'm getting to the point of this, like, when does it get to a point to where things become sacred? You understand what I'm saying? When are things sacred? When is it to where there are some things that people just don't need to know? And for him to put himself out there, and then he did another interview where he was the third person, being the person where he was critiquing his own situation. And I'm like, wow.
I think,
wow.
but you know what though, I know that we're not going to stay on this topic very long, however, but I think that he had to bring it out because he's built a platform by, telling women what they shouldn't take or what they shouldn't do. And because he was caught, or because all of this information started coming about his life not aligning to what he was preaching, he had no choice but to come out. And I believe, his book, based on some of the interviews that I saw, his book is at that place to where he begins to talk about, the healing stage of them getting counseling and the biblical stances that it takes for you to be healed, through, I didn't read the book, of course, I think it might have, I don't know when it came out, but, that was his way of getting to the point of, okay, now that I made my confessions, me and my wife have went through whatever we went through, this book is going to tell you some biblical principles on how you can be restored and be healed.
I get that, but here's my thing. If that is your story, and I agree with like you said, because you kind of stole what I was going to say, but he had to bring it out, because if he wouldn't have brought it out, the woman that he allegedly cheated with would have brought it out. So he needed to get ahead of it. However, I feel like in getting ahead of it, if you are still out there doing what you are doing, and there's still recent allegations, then like Charlemagne the God said he's a narcissist. You get what I'm saying? He basically took all his wisdom, that apparent wisdom that he was pouring out and giving, and used that to manipulate people so he can control the narrative. He made himself appear to be something that he's not. And people lose respect for you in that aspect. And again, I personally feel like, you're right, Reggie. When we grew up, things stayed in the house. Some things stayed in the house. Everybody wants to, again, come out and say, God this, God that, we use this, which is a great thing if you are genuine, if you are humble, and you're truly speaking about it. But you can be misleading if you're coming out saying that, but then you're still continuing in the situation. Get healed first. Wait till you are completely healed and you've all have really got past this, and you're to the place of humility and not a place of arrogance to where you're doing third person reaction videos, and then talk about it, So, I mean, that's all the energy I'm giving.
Yeah, and that's all the energy I'm going to give to him as well, because I haven't even dug into the wife situation, because I don't know how indirect or direct she is in the situation. To me, it looked even on some things where he was nudging her to say certain things. So I don't know how much for she is of this or what. I have no clue. She didn't look like she was very enthused about it. She could have been where she was in support of her husband. I don't know, but go ahead.
She's came out with a couple of different videos, just giving her stance on it, as far as her sticking by her husband and them, in a place of trusting God to restore and to, to resurrect whatever was damaged in their marriage. And she's standing hold to that. Now she got one video where she had on army fatigue, and then she talked about the bonnet that they calling it a bonnet. It was a hat, I believe. It wasn't a bonnet, but she's at a place where she's, I feel like she's speaking against, because her marriage is under attack right now. So she's in a place of warfare where she's trying to fight against everything that's coming against her and her husband's decision to move forward and move past whatever this thing is that they're going through.
But do you think part of that is his fault? Part of that?
I think definitely.
She's not just fighting against that. Hold on, she's not just fighting against those demons. Her husband is still egging the situation on because he's too busy trying to promote a book versus focusing on your marriage.
And then you throw God, and then you throw God into it to clean up your mess, and it looks like your continual mess. Here's my issue, and I know we got to move on to the next topic. Here's my issue: if you mess up and want to bring God into the situation or whatever else like that, that's fine. That's your prerogative. That's between you and the Creator and everything else like that. But don't create these scenarios. And then, because like I said, I've never heard the guy mention God at all, ever. at birth.
Well, he just got saved. He
Not
just
one.
he
Of course
came
he would.
out.
I would
He
get
came
saved
out.
too. I would get saved too. If you had a wife like I got and I messed up, I would get saved and give my life to God, the
In a
angels,
heartbeat.
everybody, because you're gonna split my wig wide open. Pull my whole spine out the back. Hey, I would get saved too. I would too, because now you have created this situation to where we already are living in a world where people look at Christianity and God way differently, and they question it. There's a whole bunch of other stuff going on, and now you throw such a very hot topic out there for the world to see, and now you throw God in for him to clean it up. No, bro, you should have cleaned it up and had it cleaned up before you brought God into the situation. Now you want to sit back and be like, God, handle it, take the wheel. Me, I have an issue with that.
Right.
Yeah, he came out and said that it was just in 2020 that he decided to give his life over to God, but things started crumbling. We don't have to go into it, but of course, he that's his stance, is that things started crumbling once he gave his life to Christ, and then he got to a place where he was like, forget it, don't worry about it. And then he had an epiphany that he really didn't surrender. Like after he talked to his counselor, that the reason everything is crumbling in your life is because you haven't fully surrendered your life over to Christ.
So that's my problem right there. And I don't mean to cut you off. I apologize, but he said that when he gave his life to God, everything started crumbling. You're sending the wrong message. Your life was already crumbling before you gave your life to God, and it just came out. You get what I'm saying? Don't say that you gave your life to God and then it starts crumbling. You know what I'm saying? You have people looking at God and Jesus the wrong way. You know what I'm saying? No, your life is crumbling because your actions. Take responsibility for your actions. You screwed up, accept the responsibility. Now you're giving your life to God in hopes that he will fix it. You know what I'm saying? Jesus can't save you. God can save you from anything you're going through in life, but you still have to partner with him and do your part. You get what I'm saying? There's things that you have to do on your end. You can't just put it all on him. So, again, I don't want to give too much energy to the clown, because we do have another topic to talk about, the situation with Kirk Franklin and his son. So, Jackie, I'll let you go ahead and start that.
It's not, to me, it's not really a whole lot that I can say on the Kirk Franklin situation, only that my heart goes out to him and his family, and that, as many of us out here, we are continually to pray for his family and to continue to lift him up. The only issue that I have is that, people have came out with a lot of criticism towards Kirk, and because he cursed and because he went through the situation with his son. And the only issue I have with that is because he's in the limelight, because he's a celebrity, because he's a well-renowned known gospel singer, has impacted gospel music over years and years. And because he was caught in a situation where he didn't even know about first off, now everybody want to try to put him on blast like he is just this horrible person. And the only difference between us and Kirk is that our stuff it's not unveiled like his was. You know what I'm saying? And people always tend to forget that as Christians, we're human. We make mistakes. There's some things in our lives and challenges that we have that we go through where we will fall. And the fact that it was exploded like that over social media, and actually, to me though, I didn't think that it did any damage. I think that people stood behind Kirk because they are parents too. You know what I'm saying? Aside from you having fame, aside from you being in the public eye, you still are a parent outside of all of that. And on top of that, you're dealing with a grown man. Okay, you know what I'm saying? Like, so that changes the narrative for me, because you're not a 14 or 15-year-old, you're a 33-year-old. And at some point you have to understand that, I think, people forget that just because you're 33 don't mean that you lose respect for your parents. And I don't care what the situation is or what have you, they've been going through, based off of what they said, they've been going through issues with him, for years. And they've been trying to get the help that they've been seeking counseling to try to help the situation. But because he's in the public eye right now, people feel the need to judge, which is what Christians seem to always do. Like, as if you've never made any kind of mistakes in your life. It's the only difference is that he's a celebrity and you're not.
My thing is that from Kirk's standpoint, I don't call it a mistake. You know what I'm saying? In the Black family dynamics,
Right.
you understand what I'm saying? I don't care who you are. I just can't see TD Jakes getting into it with his kids and be like, oh my God, you better bring the keys over here if I hit you with a pan. No, I don't see that happening. Okay. I believe that, like you said, Jackie, we are human. You understand what I'm saying? And when anxiety kicks in, or we're got our backs against the wall, we're trying to be parents, sometimes our titles and our accolades don't come into effect. Who cares about that? When I'm trying to regulate my house, when I'm trying to put things in order, when I'm trying to make sure that everything is good, sometimes the fact that I'm a pastor or a bishop or elder, whatever like that, that's not taken into account. But it goes also back into, again, the situation about whatever happens in the house stays in the house. Mm-hmm. I don't care how old you are. If it happened in this house when it was going on, it needs to stay in this house. Me, I wouldn't have got in front of nothing because, first of all, it's none of anyone's business. I stand behind what I said. I stand behind what I did. That's my son. That's my house. It's none of your business. I don't care if I'm a celebrity or not. And then, two, I would get to a point to where, yeah, me and him would have to have a whole nother conversation. Film that if you want to, because you're not going to disrespect me, continue to disrespect me, continue to disrespect my wife, continue to disrespect my household, because that's not how we were taught. We are living in a generation where the respect factor is I wouldn't even say slowly slipping away, but it's no longer even there anymore. When I sit back and I watch the way, it started even a while ago, but I sit back and I watch the way kids respond and talk to their parents or whatever else like that. We were taught, children, obey your parents.
Yes.
For your days shall be long.
Right.
All right.
Or numbered.
I've working in the system and working with kids over the last X amount of years. When I started to sit back and be like, dang, they died a little early. They left up out of here. And my first thing comes to mind, you was very disrespectful to your parents. You did this and that, whatever like that. And that stuff comes around to bite you in the end. So my thing is that I stand behind Kirk. You know what I'm saying? Because when I was listening to Kirk, the first 2 minutes, I'm like, yeah, because that's how I can be sometimes. Disrespect my household or disrespect me. I am coming unglued, and I'm not going to go back and get on my knees and apologize, but Lord, forgive me for what I said. No, God gave me a responsibility to take care of my household, to do the things that's right or whatever. And if someone else wants to do that, that's fine. But as for me, I don't play them games. I don't play no games with no kids that I'm raising, assisting raising, that I was in the delivery room with. I don't play them games. And if you play grown people games, you're going to get grown men, grown people results.
Wow. Well, I mean, bro, I think you spoke for most of the population that feels that way. You know,
don't get the gavel and just ding.
Man, look, let me lay hands on you, boy. Here's the reality, though. He is a grown man. You said it best. He is a grown man. You know, you cannot come up in somebody's people because everybody's trying to look for ways to call people out or try to show that people are not perfect. You get what I'm saying? There's not one person on this earth that's perfect in everything. We clearly see that. You know, here's the reality. They had a disagreement. You're not going to be, like you said, preaching and singing, you know, the gospel 24/7. You know, I mean, come on now. You know, to say, quit putting all these high expectations on people to be perfect just because they're in the limelight. That's ridiculous. And if you do that, then you're fooling yourself. Every person that stands behind a pulpit and preaching, they don't, it's not like they go without struggles. They're not perfect.
Right.
You get what I'm saying? And I think that if we would be honest with ourselves and you know, that we got struggles and just pull that expectation from people. And like you said, understand that they're human, then we won't be so disappointed. And to me, I just really feel like, you know, I'm with you, Reggie. You know, you disrespect me and my wife, it's going to be some kind of problems. And I do my best to try to restrain myself because I know how I can get and I would love to lay hands, you know, but come on, man. You know, we're definitely in that generation where the respect factor has gone away. You know, they don't respect themselves. They don't respect women. They don't respect parents. It's just no respect nowadays. So when you see a person that's a Christian or whatever the case, and they cuss somebody out or whatever the case, they had a bad day. You know what I'm saying? And that's not an excuse. We always have to be cautious of how we carry ourselves. but everybody falls short sometime. Quit trying to crucify this man.
Well, I don't think he got crucified. I think he got more support behind, because you have to, his son, his son had intentions behind releasing the conversation. You know what I'm saying? Like, it was almost like I'm gonna get you now. You know what I'm saying? Like, let me go ahead and release this. However, I even though I agree 100% with what both of you all said, I just think Kirk felt the responsibility, because he is a person in his level of influence, where he felt the need to come out and just, I'm human. He came out and said that I am human. You know what I'm saying? Like we are going through, it's a private, I've tried to keep it a private family matter. However, this came out. So let me address it on head. And then, but based on what Kirk said also, is that it's more to the tape than what was played. Right. You know what I'm saying? So at the end of the day, to me, his son is definitely going through some challenges that they're still trying to work through as a family. But he got more support, you know what I'm saying, behind him leaking the video. So whatever damage his son tried to do, all of that got debunked immediately.
These kids, and I'm not going to say all of them, because there's some really decent kids out there, but we got to get rid of this entitlement deal. Just because your dad is famous and he may have money and he may have some wealth, doesn't mean that you're entitled to get that. You get it as a privilege. Life is a privilege. You know what I'm saying? My kids having a cell phone, if I'm paying the bill, that's a privilege. Me keeping a roof over your head, that's a privilege. Even though it's my responsibility, I can do the bare minimum and still be doing my responsibility. Anything extra or outside of that is a bonus. You know what I'm saying? We got to get rid of this. We walk around here like everybody owes us something. Nobody owes you nothing. We don't want to do anything or that requires work or us working for whatever we're trying to accomplish in life. We want everything given and handed to us. The things that we accomplish and how the Father blesses us is because we work, we partner with him, and we do our part. And he chooses to bless us and open doors for us. If you want something, like what the Bible say, if a man don't work, he don't eat. He ain't say, if a man don't work, go to your parents or somebody else so they can give it to you. That ain't how it's written, But I just think that we need to get rid of this entitlement and this judgment. And I think some people were trying to crucify him and like, he's a man of God and he ain't supposed to talk like that. Okay, let somebody disrespect you and see if you're not going to say, I'll break your neck.
Yeah.
People are so hypocritical. They really are. And it's funny how they don't see it until the tables are turned and stuff actually comes to their front door. Then they're responding, 9 times out of 10, they're responding the same exact way that they judged against. My thing is, at the end of the day, I'm going to lay hands on you with no oil, and I'm going to show you how human I really am. And here's my thing where
you got to deal with flesh and flesh, right?
Yeah, you got to deal with flesh and flesh. And for that, there is no remorse for me. All right, because respect for me carries a lot of weight. It does. Because why? Because my parents and my grandparents, they declared and they demanded respect. You understand what I'm saying? Back in our day, we couldn't even suck our teeth the wrong way without losing a couple of them. You know what I'm saying? Forget the tooth fairy coming to get them. They knocked our teeth out of our mouth and threw them in the trash the next day. You understand what I'm saying? We couldn't roll our eyes. We couldn't take deep breaths. There was no respect. Why? There was none of that going on. But here's where I think that there may have been a breach in understanding. Okay, our parents to this day, Kenneth, your mother is my mother-in-law. I know the aunts and everything on the Jaxn and Bonner family side. You understand? My mom came up in this dynamic as well. They had a theory of putting the fear of God in you before they put the fear. They had a theory of putting the fear of who they were in you before they put the fear of God in you. And what I mean by that is that I don't care how old you get. My mom is 74 years old right now. And if I even think about disrespecting her, she's going to push my eyes to the back of my head. So that started at home. Even when I got out of the house and I'm a grown man with my own family, paying my own bills, I am not going to go to my mama's house or be here in California and she's in Indiana and call myself getting disrespectful and not expect to have some type of price to pay. See, sometimes these kids, when they get grown, they think they too grown to where they don't have to respect. I tell you this. Ain't no kid that I'm assisting in raising or have helped give birth to is ever going to disrespect me without any type of consequence. My son would tell you right now, and sometimes my son, I look at him and he has me all in him or whatever else like that, but I can see that thing rising up in him. But before I say anything, he checks himself because he know that daddy is half crazy. My wife's kid, they know that my wife Diana is half crazy. So if they feel like they want to say the wrong thing, they don't have to have nobody check them. They be like, I'm going to check myself because I can lose my life right now where we stand.
Look, what did our grandparents used to say? I mean, our parents used to say, I brought you into this world
and I'll take you out.
All it takes is a look.
That's all it takes.
No conversation. All it takes is that one look. And that's the thing, though, bro. Like, seriously, I'm not your friend, and that's one of the things that I want to point out that Kirk indicated in his interview is that I am not your equal. I am still your father. That's the distinguishment that we need to get an understanding here today. Is that at the end of the day, you are going to respect me. I respect you. But you are going to respect me as being your parent. I'm not one of your friends that you can talk crazy to and think you're going to get away with it. And that's the mentality we have to change. The narrative with these kids today, because, a lot of kids think like, oh, we friends. We can, even joking at some point, you know what I'm saying? You have to nip that in the bud.
Right.
Nip it in the bud and get ahead of it because it could get out of control.
Right. And at the end of the day, I feel like if we're having issues that are beyond our control, then we need to get counseling. You get what I'm saying? There's nothing wrong with that. But you should not rise up against your parents. I have no respect for you. I look at you differently. I don't even want nothing to do with you. I have to really pray hard to get past those feelings. But at the same time, it's just a little bit out of hand, a little bit out of control. Find out what your issues is. Communicate what your issues are. Don't walk around here like, you all perfect too. You know what I'm saying? I don't get these kids. They just, again, and I'm not attacking any TV shows, but there are certain channels you can watch where those kid TV shows, you don't see parents in the house. And then there's some that you see when the parents are around, the kids are talking to them crazy. But this is what our kids are watching. Saying they're watching this and thinking that it is okay to talk to your child like that. I don't put my kids in timeout. I put them hands on them if I have to. There's a difference. But I'm just saying, man, the reality of it is that if you are having issues on that level, get some counseling like they were doing. And if you don't agree, with the issue of the outcome, take some time, cool down, and then go back and talk about it. But don't try to record a conversation, just to try to put somebody on blast because you don't like, the outcome of the situation or you didn't get what you want. And I feel that's kind of what happened in this situation. So I agree. I stand behind Kirk Franklin. I'm still,
I think everybody stand behind Kirk.
Listen, what do you say? Do you want a revolution?
I would lead the revolution.
You can get it.
I don't play them games. So I applaud him. I stand behind him because we are parents, and he's right. We are human, and there are some times when we lead in the revolution, we might get a little bit beside ourselves, and there are some things that you might have to check on yourself. But at the end of the day, the disrespect is not tolerated on any level at all. Period. Not from our generation. Now, this next generation coming up, I see some things that I'm like, wow, y'all, we wouldn't have lived to tell that story. Right. We wouldn't have lived to tell that book, right? To talk about it because our life would have ended right then and there. And I believe God would have justified it. You know what I'm saying? So my thing is at the end of the day, people, when whatever goes on in your house stays in that house. And if it comes out of the house, you better take care of it real quick. Plain and simple. Take care of it and get it back into the house. Deal with it whatever way that you feel like you need to deal with it, whether it be through counseling, whether it be through group session, individual therapy, or whatever. I understand people got mental issues, they're emotional. This COVID has caused a rise of depression and anxiety and a number of different things. There's still no excuse for disrespect. But once you get a hand on it, reel it back in, deal with it, try to build that family dynamics or bond. And here's my last thing. If they don't agree to those terms or want to be a part of it, then you have to do like the Bible said, kick the dust off your feet and keep it moving. Me, I would chalk up the deuces and I will love you from afar.
Well said. Well said. Well,
Yep.
You guys hit it out the park on both shows, from the clown, I'm sorry, from the first situation to this one. So great job. I think you all provided some real powerful insight. And I hope that people, really see our hearts and what we're trying to say and the information we're communicating. So make sure you all, again, go to our website, whenwetalk.net. Check us out there. Subscribe to our YouTube channel. Download, share the podcast with somebody. If you want to be a guest on our show, you can go to whenwetalk.net, fill out the contact us form, and just let us know. Until next time, keep your head up.
Keep God first.
And keep it moving.